Hello, hello. Here we are with TannerRoos. Did I say your name correctly, sir?
Roos. Everybody says it one way or the other. I know who
Well,
they're talking about.
how do you say it?
My family's Roos.
Tanner Roos. Good. So I want to say it properly. So I'm here with
Thank you.
Tanner Roos, and I saw a really cool tweet of his with a little video of a lot of kids batting all at one time in his gymnasium. And in the video tweets that we see 30 seconds or a minute of an activity, but that really doesn't tell us the entire story. So this is a little global um, phys ed offshoot that we're going to be putting out there where we're just going beyond the game. We're going to figure out exactly what's going on, and Tanner's going to help us. So before we start, Tanner, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
This is my 14th year teaching. I teach in Cedar Rapids School District in Iowa at Hiawatha Elementary School. And I also teach two sections at Van Buren Elementary School in the Cedar Rapids District. So I think I've taught in now 7 schools in my 14 years, but I've been at this one for 8 years.
And what is the age range you're with now?
Elementary, so I do K through 5.
Beautiful. All right. So here we go. We are going to play the tweet over here. And really quickly, I'm going to share my screen. I just want to make sure that you can see it. So here we go. Can you see the screen, sir?
I can see it.
All right. So here we go. No further ado. Tell us what's going on here.
All right, so we're having third graders right now, and they're doing a game called Batting Cages. I saw it on Robbie, I'm going to say his name is Fabry. He's a California teacher. I saw it on his profile. We happen to have a rain day, and we were going to go outside, so I needed something, and this is what I found. It turned out to be great for me. So these third graders are getting, I think, 3, maybe 4 swings, and then after their 4th swing, their partner will go in and take a turn at swinging. You'll see a bunch of kids in the middle of the gym. They're there for safety reasons. Nobody's swinging towards the middle. And those kids are also helping replace the ball that has been hit. So these guys, I think, are in their first day of the lesson. Prior to this, we watched an instructional video on YouTube. I think I typed in pro speed baseball and typed in load, stride, and swing. And so they got some instruction from somebody who's probably better at baseball than I am.
Nice. All right. So in there, let's go over our questions. So we talked about that. What was the GLO aligned to? What was the point?
We were working on our long-handled implements, and initially, like prior to that morning, we were going to go outside and hit off tees, trying to hit them over a fence that we have close by, so kind of like a home run derby. We got rained out, so I found this. So it didn't look the same as I wanted for some of my maybe 4th and 5th graders, but for the 2nd and 3rd grade group that we had, it was perfect because they were able to make contact off the tee using correct grip, and then they were able to get their body aligned properly. And I think the 3rd graders just had to send it forward off the tee. So that was what they were working on.
All right. So this was the skill activity. You said the provocation was a video, right? They watched a quick video, and then this was the skill activity, and you said it was the first lesson within the unit?
Yes. I think we did I want to say maybe 2 to 3 days. This was done last year, this time of the year, but we got rained out. So after we would have done this, we would have planned on going outside and hitting into a group of kids who we had practiced catching with gloves previously. So they would have had gloves to try to catch, like you might see if you were at the home run derby. But now we're having, 7, 8 kids at a time hitting into a group of kids with gloves. That would have been.
All right. So I think we gave a little background about the activity. Where is the differentiation for the activity? So for the different levels of our students?
Well, we have several different types of bats. I think most of the kids in there used what you'd see as a standard bat. We've got some of those flat bats that you might find. We've got the hard foam bats. And I don't know that mattered a lot for a lot of the kids, but some of the kids felt like they could maybe swing a little bit harder if they had some of those foam bats. We use different balls. For the younger kids, they like to use some of those like gator skin balls, the smaller ones. Most of the kids liked using the wiffle balls, and I think in this example, they were almost all using the wiffle balls. I don't think I used tennis balls for the kids, but I did have a couple different sizes of things.
All right, so they had the choice of the size, which is going to increase their effectiveness. And then if you increase the contact area with the flat bat, that would make it a little easier for them too. So that would cover a lot of that, and then the difficulty. And then I guess we'll talk about. We can go right into it. So right away, whenever I do an activity, there's always things we could do better. So do you want to start off? What are things, either twists we could do as a variation? So I always say better, but I don't always mean better as in improve upon it. What I mean is sometimes we can make it a different activity or, modify it to different things. So do you have any ideas going up before I go?
Yeah, one of the things I did, I want to say this was in the first day that I did this activity, and I think we rained out the next day also, so we did it again. And I put on some floor tape where the kids would stand, so front foot, back foot pointing at the plate. That helped out a lot because then they were easily able to orient themselves. Some of the kids had never done baseball or striking activities like this before, so seeing where they stood was, for me, growing up as a baseball player, it was just strange to see that where they would choose to stand. But once they were able to see the foot markings on the ground, students made a lot of successful swings after that.
Yeah, that would be number one, right? Because you saw the one girl who was like sideways hitting it towards another person. Not that the ball would hurt or anything, but definitely getting the foot idea down, tape. And you'd be surprised how many kids don't know that, which is definitely an issue.
Yeah.
Any other modifications you would do or did do in the next lesson? Because we're always improving it as we go along.
Well, initially I had kind of made the batting cages where there'd be 3 of the gymnastics mats kind of in a corner, so you could hit into the middle of the 3. So I had a bunch of different corners of my gym all had a bunch of mats, and they were all hitting, random directions, but it was always contained within the mat. Then I realized I couldn't see anybody, so I couldn't give any feedback. So that was when I adjusted and put them all on the walls so that at any point I could see everybody who was swinging. And also, I felt like it could keep the kids safer who were in the middle because I knew where they were standing at all times. And I didn't have to worry about somebody walking out or putting the ball in a tee while somebody's not paying attention and getting whacked.
Yeah, for me, the only thing maybe would go with a smaller ball. Like if you had the option of like a little golf, obviously not a regular golf ball, but one of those wiffle golf balls that you practice indoors with. I don't even know if that would work on the tee, if it would sit up enough on it. Anything smaller, again, not biggie. Let's go with assessment. What were you assessing? How did you assess here? Because, again, when we see the video, you're showing the activity, and then obviously video goes away, and then we assess. So what were you assessing? What did you use?
So what I had done at that point was I was looking for the grip initially. A lot of kids were having their hands apart and stuff like that. So we talked a bunch beforehand about the grip. And as they got older, we talked more about, the stride and having them parts of the mature pattern. I want to say the 4th graders, the next grade level up, had to have 3 out of the 5 mature pattern parts. So I was able to say, hey, these are the identified 5 mature pattern parts. And if you are able to reach 2 of the 5, then you're at this level, just like you would if you would use the Plecker's cards. And if you were able to reach 3 out of the 5, then you're at what we would consider like you got it. You've got it figured out for your grade level. This was for 4th grade. And you'd be like that wow student who was able to get all 5 parts. But we'd talk about those and let the kids self-assess, that type of thing.
So you had self-assess and then you had them. Did you have them stand up? How did you know where they were at? The 2, the 3, the 4, the 5?
Well, when I was able to videotape them, I could see some of that, but then I wasn't going to go back and look at every single videotape. So I'd wander around the room and I'd go ahead and say, hey, check your feet. Are you standing in the right spot? How do you feel you're doing with, your grip, that type of thing. Just to get them to think about what were the 5 things we've talked about previously, and where do they think they're being successful, and where do they think they need to improve?
All
I
right. So
probably could have had more to have the partners give some of that feedback, and I don't think that I did that.
that's what I was thinking right there. We give the partner the assessment sheets, pick a random, 1 or do 3 of the, 5 swings or whatever it is you want to set up. Then you just have your checks of the 5 things. Did they do this, this, and this, and then do it after. So I really like it for a depth of knowledge. Rich Wiles was like, yeah, throw in a couple things about that. So definitely we have the recall and reproduction. We have the skill and concept. Any strategic thinking and reasoning or extended thinking, did we take it outside the classroom at all?
Well, I looked at some of those depth of knowledge things after the fact. I mean, I did this last year. I don't know that I asked them a lot of stuff like that. I'm not great at that. But as I've thought about it more, one of them was, how is this similar, the swing and the contact, to hockey? I mean, there's not a lot of differences. You're still using that long implement. So just getting about how it relates to other sports. I thought about, how would they adapt this to the stuff they have at recess? I know we don't have a lot of recess equipment, but we do have 2 baseball fields. They're allowed to use that. How could they use these skills at recess with what they're allowed to use?
Yeah, and that's huge, right? What are we doing in the class? And then how can you take what we're doing outside of the class? That's always that transfer, the thing that tries to make it stick. Like I said, I think we're pretty good. Is there any follow-ups, anything you want to finish out here with to let the listeners know about?
No, I just think that this was a pretty cool activity. I was definitely not the first one to do it, but I was excited when I saw it. I needed it in a pinch, and it worked out really well for my students. I think they enjoyed it.
Nice.
I'll definitely.
I didn't mean to interrupt. What was it?
I said I'll definitely do this again.
Nice. And I like how you talk about, I started here, and then the next day I saw the mistakes where I needed to do it, and then I put in my quick fixes. I feel like my afternoon classes, because a lot of times I'll do the same with the earlier, then I'll have the second go around in the afternoon, and my second go around is so much better because, unfortunately I worked out all the kinks in the first one. So always learn, always try to get better there. Well, listen, thank you for coming on and being part of Beyond the Game. We appreciate you, sir. Again, TannerRoos.
Yeah, well, thank you, Justin. Have a great night.
You too.